everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, and welcome to part 43B of Emerald LP. And I call this segment the Pokeblock Filler. I call it the Pokeblock Filler because both of these fillers require us to have Pokeblocks, and like I said, these are filler episodes. And today we are going in the Safari Zone with our Pokeblocks. You don't need Pokeblocks to go into the Safari Zone. You need a Pokeblock case, just so that they can confirm, hey, you're planning on feeding these Pokemon instead of kicking them with your Pokemon, right? But yeah, before the episode starts, I just want to let you all know I made a couple of Pokeblocks. Yep, there they are right there. I made a bunch of Pokeblocks. And for those of y'all who don't know the concept of Pokeblocks, go back to my filler episode, my first filler episode, 43A, the one before this. Because yeah, these are both filler, Pokeblock filler. So yeah, in the Safari Zone we find certain Pokemon. Most of the Pokemon you find here are actually Kanto Pokemon, and it's a nice amount. Also depending on which type of Pokeblocks you put into the feeder, because once you put Pokeblocks into the feeder, it can attract several different types of Pokemon. But you can also use the Pokeblocks in battle when you meet the Pokemon, because you can't use your Pokemon to fight these Pokemon. You have to use your own skills. You have to use a Pokeblock to feed the Pokemon. You have to go near the Pokemon by walking closer to it. Now here's how the mechanics work, and some boys will explain this later on. When you go near a Pokemon, it increases your chances of catching the Pokemon. However, this also increases the chances of the Pokemon running away, because like natural animals, they'll be afraid of you if you approach them too closely. To keep a Pokemon around longer so they won't run away, then you would have to feed it Pokeblocks. If the Pokemon likes the Pokeblock that you throw, then it'll be enthralled by it and, you know, stick around no matter how closely you creep near it. Yeah, I know it sounds very weird. It sounds very pedophilic. I feed you and then get closer to you. Anyway, we capture an Oddish. I'm not going to use any of the Pokemon I catch in the LP. They're just like filler episode Pokemon to show things off, and I'm sorry about that. My Facebook was open as well, so ignore that, people. Anyway, I call this Oddish, and I really do like Oddish. I like Oddish in somewhat of a it's very cute with no hands type of way, ignoring the fact that its head looks like marijuana. But yeah, but because of that, I did give this Oddish the nickname Mara for marijuana. So basically, yeah, you can put a Pokeblock into the Poke Feeder, and it basically just increases the chances of certain Pokemon appearing. I accidentally misclick when I see some of these Pokemon, because I usually like press A a lot when I'm playing Pokemon, because I want to get the text box out of the way. So I accidentally misclick, but thank God Oddish didn't get caught. So yeah, I run. I'm going to do a speed through just to show off some of the Pokemon that you can catch in the Safari Zone, but not now, just, you know, when I feel like it. Because this is a filler episode. No, it doesn't really hold any ultimate significance. So this guy wants to continue here, but he can't because you have to ride a bike. I have a bike. Unfortunately, I don't have the acro bike, which means I can't hop across these little bridge points. So yeah, I have a mock bike right now. So yeah, you might want to switch bikes when you come to the Safari Zone. However, there are uses for the mock bike here in the Safari Zone too, when you see rock slides. So yeah, here we see a Giraffe Ring. I don't end up catching it, but I really want it to. I think Giraffe Ring's an interesting Pokemon. If anything, I think in Gen 6, this is one of the Pokemon I was talking about that needs an evolution. This and maybe Stantler. There's a lot of Johto. I love Johto region to death. Like, Johto League is literally my favorite. But Johto League is full of Pokemon that I know need evolutions. Corsola, Quillfish, Giraffe Ring. Yeah, Pokemon like that, the Dunsparce, Pokemon I know that need evolutions, that just don't get one, and it's been Generation 5. So yeah, hopefully Generation 6 will do Giraffe Ring some love. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, like I said before, yeah, give Pokemon Pokeblocks. If they like the Pokeblocks, then they'll stick around, and you can creep up closer to them and they won't run away. If you creep up too close to them, then the Pokemon will get intimidated and run away, and you lose your chance to catch that Pokemon until you find it again. I will say this Safari Zone, out of all the Safari Zones I've ever played in throughout the entire game, this Safari Zone is definitely the most irritating, only because in this Safari Zone, when you throw the Pokeblock, a Pokemon may not even like it. Like sometimes the Pokemon may pay the Pokeblock no attention. Sometimes they'll be curious about it, which means they're not really caring about the Pokeblock, but they do like notice its existence. And then sometimes the Pokemon will really like the Pokeblock and eat the Pokeblock and stick around. Unfortunately, however, each Pokeblock is different and has a different taste, which means each Pokemon who has a different nature like certain type of Pokeblocks. And this guy will explain it here. See, if you use Pokeblocks, the Pokemon won't flee. Unfortunately, like I said, in the last episode, the last filler episode, I stated that certain Pokemon's natures mean that they like certain Pokeblocks. This unfortunately means that if a Pokemon has a certain nature and you throw a Pokeblock, it'll try to eat that Pokeblock, but it may or may not even like that Pokeblock because you don't know what nature it is. So if you end up throwing a Pokeblock at it so it can stay around, what if it doesn't have the nature that the Pokeblock's flavor is? Like, for example, if I get a Pokemon that likes sour food, if I meet one in the Safari Zone that likes sour food, unfortunately I have no way of knowing that it likes sour food. So I end up throwing a sweet Pokeblock on accident, and the Pokemon doesn't even pay that Pokeblock any attention. So not only have I wasted Pokeblocks trying to attract this thing, but I've also literally just wasted my time, because once I creep closer to it, the Pokemon's is gonna flee because it's not attracted by the Pokeblock I threw at all. So yeah, that's my small little dilemma with that. And we catch a Doduo, by the way. So yeah, I called this Doduo, I really don't know what the hell to call Doduo. I've never really liked Doduo, to be perfectly honest. A three-headed bird seems like it would be a cool idea, but whatever. I just call it Dodudo, just to be funny. Like I said, this is a filler episode. I don't catch any of these Pokemon. I catch some Pokemon. I don't use any of these Pokemon in future episodes. They're just here for me to show off the Safari Zone. That's literally their job. And I really kind of wanted this Natu. I like Natu, but I don't care for Axtu, because look at it. It's a tiny little, like, bird thingy. And it's so cool. I like the design of Natu more than its evolved form Axtu. Axtu just looks like a weird totem pole-like thing. Don't get me wrong, it's cool. I like a Psychic/Flying type Pokemon, but Noctowl does it better, and he's not even a Psychic/Flying type Pokemon. He's just a Flying type Pokemon that can use Psychic attacks. So yeah, we see another Doduo. Lols. Anyway, other than that, I go ahead and I'm gonna sometimes speed through a couple of these. One rule to note to people who've never, played a Pokemon game ever and has never been to the Safari Zone, you don't get a time limit. I know you guys probably are fast readers and saw that the guy at the front desk said that you're on a time limit. You're not on a time limit when you're in the Safari Zone. The Safari Zone's overall quote-unquote time system is mostly based on how many steps you do. They're encouraging you to go through the Safari Zone, get to the deepest part so you can find the rarest Pokemon here, while still trying to measure your walking, because if you do too many steps in the Safari Zone, then your time will be up. So one trick that a lot of people do, there's two tricks you can do in the Safari Zone to ensure that you can literally stay in the Safari Zone as long as you want. One of the tricks is to not hold the directional buttons. Like, what you want to do is tap the directional buttons. You want to tap the directional buttons going left, right, up, down, left, right, up, or right, not right, don't double tap. Right, down, left, up, or or up, down, right, left. It doesn't matter. Just lightly tap them. And I call this thing Rhino X because I can't think of any other names for it. I try to call it something else, but I eventually just end up saying screw it. I'm calling it Rhino X. So I don't know what the hell I'm trying to do. I think I tried to call it Rhino Quake, but I realized it sounded stupid. So I'll literally call him Rhino X. I'm just right now just contemplating on it. So anyway, yeah, like I said, just lightly tap the directional buttons. When you lightly tap the directional buttons, it will treat it as if you still haven't taken a step, but Pokemon will still appear, because it'll still count as a movement, but it won't count as a step. So yeah, that's one way. The second way is to have a Pokemon like Mara, the one I caught, the Oddish, or any other Pokemon, usually grass types, have a Pokemon that knows the move Sweet Scent. What Sweet Scent will do is basically, it's like Repel's opposite. What it'll do is that it'll attract Pokemon to you. So when you use Sweet Scent, it'll bring the Pokemon to you without you having to make any moves whatsoever. So yeah, this guy's like, I made it far, but I'm too exhausted to catch any Pokemon. So yeah, that's one of the things you want to do. Like, those are the two things you can do to ensure that you can catch as many Pokemon as you need to in the Safari Zone without even making a move. Nice little tricks to have if you want to, like, stay in the Safari Zone as long as you need to, catch the right Pokemon, stuff like that. So yeah, we see another Rhyhorn. I don't catch doubles. I accidentally misclick on some Pokemon though, so it treats it like I wanted to catch them, but I don't. So yeah, I see a lot of Rhyhorns. At this point, I just see a lot of Rhyhorns, and I don't even bother trying to catch any of them. Excuse me about that, but one of the things you want to do the most, the better the Pokeblock you make, the more interesting or rare Pokemon will come out. We see Gloom, but I already have Oddish. There's no point in catching it, so I'll run away from it. Anyway, like I said, the better the Pokeblock you make, then the better the Pokemon that come out in the grass. But like I said, like, Pokeblocks are a really mixed bag here because you need Pokeblocks in order to, increase your Pokemon's contest stats, like I explained in the last episode. But you also need Pokeblocks to attract Pokemon in the Safari Zone, and you also need Pokeblocks to go into the feeder. So with those three necessary requirements for Pokeblocks, and your berries and the berry blender, you're gonna need to gather a lot of berries so you can make a lot of Pokeblocks. Because you're gonna need a lot of Pokeblocks just to serve this purpose. But just to serve those three purposes, excuse me. And we see a Dodrio, and Dodrio's movement animation in Emerald is very weird. That thing looks like it was about to come straight out of the television. Or the computer if you're sitting down watching this on a computer. So yeah, I try to catch Dodrio. I know I have Doduo, but I don't know. I just wanted to catch it for some reason. It seemed interesting enough, but I creep too close to it and it ends up fleeing. So yeah, I'll make a dumb move and yeah, it flees. Generally, not a lot of people, or at least from people I know, not a lot of people like the Safari Zone in any game because, yeah, you can find really rare and unique Pokemon in here, but the method of trying to get these Pokemon to be captured without the use of of your own Pokemon to weaken it is a very tedious manner. And having a Pokemon be able to flee pretty much whenever it feels like it, is very irritating because it decreases your chances of catching the Pokemon itself. I will say, like I said, this is basically the most frustrating Safari Zone. Like, even Generation 4, I don't like Generation 4 Safari Zone either, the Great Marsh or whatever it's called. But this Safari Zone in particular is kind of annoying, just based on the fact that you have to use Pokeblocks as a method. It's like the same thing. And we get a TM over here if you go up here, so you get Solar Beam. A really nice grass type move to have. Unfortunately, I may not teach Trizzard it. Why? Because you have to wait a whole turn to use it. And it's like, yeah, and I could, pack a Sunny Day Pokemon for that occasion, but I don't want to. Anyway, we see Psyduck, and I try to catch it. Yeah, just to show it off, I try to catch Psyduck. Yeah, Pokeblock. So yeah, you just have to make sure. See, because Psyduck was curious about it. It didn't really care about that one, so it just ran away. So yeah, you're wasting a lot of Pokeblocks while you're in the Safari Zone and while you're training for contests and things like that. So you really have to make sure you're paying attention to what Pokeblocks you're making. And this is the only game that makes you do that. Like, this is the only game where you literally make your own bait for the Safari Zone, which in some instances would work out well. But it's too, like, with all of the different types of Pokeblocks you can make, all of the different types of personalities that Pokemon have, and what food they like to eat, as well as as well as the probability of them being able to run away, the risk is just way too high. The odds of you catching a Pokemon is just way too high. So, I mean, it's just way too low, excuse me. So, yeah, this is definitely not the best Safari Zone. The other one is the Great Marsh, where you get to throw bait or mud at them. Honestly, I don't like that one either, but it's better than this one. I will say that. Oh, yeah, and by the way, yeah, I call that Psyduck I just called Duck Dodgers because I thought it was a funny name. The Dodgers are the 24th and a half. And my Safari zone time is up. I walked the amount of steps. So basically what I'm going to do now is just show off the Pokemon. So yeah. Showing off the Pokemon right here. We captured Mara. We captured Dodudu, Rhino X, and Duck Dodgers. Oh yeah. We won't be using them in any plot related episode, unfortunately. But with that said, we are done, and I am done showing off the Safari Zone. I didn't speed up like I said I was going to, but because I got too involved in the commentary. But next episode, we will actually do plot-related things. See you all then. Tyrone the God 3 out. Because nobody do like do.